be screaming out to the Ummah of this world, saying you're to blame.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Contemporary Islamic Issues on Huda TV. I'm your host, Arqum Rashid. In this episode, we will be continuing our conversation from our episode on Westernization. Last episode, we looked at the reasons behind the Muslim communities and societies taking Western principles and ideologies. And we spoke about the different ideologies that we can take from the West, such as in terms of technology and education. And we spoke about the things that we shouldn't take from the West in terms of religious beliefs and things that influence our religion. We said that we were going to speak about how we can counter this sort of negative influence from the West. So I want to start off by welcoming and introducing my guest to you, Sheikh Assim Al Hakeem. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, and jazakumullah khair for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. So in the last episode, we've answered many questions, very interesting as well. We spoke about when the Prophet ﷺ said not to imitate the non-Muslims. How do we look at this hadith? How do we extract from this hadith? How do we apply it to our lives? And we've answered many questions, and we went through the understanding of the ahadith. Now, obviously, we want to sort of counter any sort of negative effect. We said there's different types of effects of Westernization. It's not necessarily everything Western is bad, everything Western is evil. There's good as well. But we said that the things that affect our religion, this is what we don't take, and this is what we need to counter. So how can we start countering this?
First of all, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Second, that to counter something, you have to first of all have full knowledge of it and its impact. So to counter it without knowing the influence of Westernization on your culture, your religion, to counter it without knowing the impact on the society, on the people, would be in vain. It has to be studied thoroughly by scholars, by social workers, by reformers, in order to have a clear view of it and its negative impact on Islam. And then you can lay down a number of measures that may help in correcting this. Of course, the idealistic way of counterattacking it is following Islam. And this is a very broad term. Following Islam is not easy. It is something that requires knowledge. It requires implementing Islam in our life, in every single aspect of it. And this is not easy, just to say it. You have to walk the talk. Also, in order to counterattack it, you have to fix your own inner soul. And this is for the population, for the Muslims, for the masses. The Muslims nowadays, as we've discussed that earlier, are under the influence of the media. And they feel vulnerable, they feel weak, they feel inferior. They have lots of fear and intimidation. I get a lot of questions from sisters saying, can we take off the hijab? We feel that everybody's looking at us. Well, hijab actually is made to prevent people from looking at you. So no, we're intimidated because of the Paris attacks, because of these will continue till the day of judgment. And I do sincerely believe that these attacks are not done by Muslims, especially when we read the reports that one of the girls in the attack, one of the attackers was a woman going to clubs and partying and having fun. Has nothing to do with Islam. And some of them were drug dealers or drug addicts, etc. These are not real Muslims. So we get questions like this saying that we're intimidated, we want to blend in. And this is one of the effects of Westernization. How to counter attack it, or how to counter it, is by fixing our inner souls, by feeling proud of our religion, of what we're practicing, by having this conviction that we are following the truth, the religion of Allah. We're complying with what Allah Azza wa Jalla has ordered us. Once we have this in us, in ourselves, once we purify our souls, then that would help a lot. Also, to purify our minds of the so many misconceptions that have infested it. So we have to think logically, think realistically, and not go to extremes in doing measures that would not be approved by Allah or the Prophet ﷺ. So by fixing the way we think, now some people would think that to counter westernization, I have to be rough with the disbelievers, look down at them, curse them, slit their throats, do things that have no relationship to Islam. No, follow your Prophet ﷺ. How did he treat the Jews and the Christians? Oh, he used to spit on them. No, this is wrong. Wrong answer. The Prophet ﷺ used to treat them well. But he would not go down to degrade himself ﷺ, or Islam. He would not feel inferior to them. He always had the upper hand. When they invited him, he would attend their invitation. There's no westernization in this, because he went as a Muslim, being proud of being a Muslim, and no compromise in my religion. A Jew woman invited him to eat at her place. He went with his companions, accepted the invitation. So it shows you how the Prophet ﷺ used to treat the Jews and the Christians. Adi ibn Hatim was a Christian, was wearing a big cross. He did not have anything to do with the bling-blings. It was just a cross that they, like the Catholics and the Orthodox, use. He went, and the Prophet ﷺ hosted him in his house, gave him a couch and a cushion to lean on, and he said to him, Adi, remove this idol from your chest. This is shirk. So he's inviting him to Islam in his house. So you have to have the balance between the two extremes. Also, as stated earlier, that with knowledge, with purifying your soul, purifying your mind and logic, and removing the misconceptions. Muslims have a lot of misconceptions that call them to compromise. They think that, oh, my religion is maybe not correct in this aspect, so I have to compromise. I have to follow them rather than follow my religion. This is not the fault of Islam. This is the fault of that person's understanding and the misconceptions that he allowed to grow rather than go and ask the people of knowledge to clarify it for them.
Very interesting. A question that came to my mind, Sheikh, was you said that the Prophet ﷺ attended, when he was invited by non-Muslims to their houses. Now, this brings a couple of questions actually, but I'll bring it down to one or maybe two, inshallah. The first being that, why do you think it's so widespread amongst Muslims that, we can't go to a non-Muslim's house if he invites us, we can't invite them over, we need to separate ourselves in society from them? Why is this misconception here? And is this an Islamic principle at all if the Prophet ﷺ himself went to these invitations?
You've answered it. Why do you need me, akhi?
No, but I'm saying what brings this sort of
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the answer is in the question. The reason, their ignorance. Had they known that the Prophet had done this, they would thought to themselves that, oops, if the Prophet did it, are we more Roman than the Romans? Do we know more than the Prophet ﷺ? Definitely not. So it is a defect in them due to their lack of knowledge. Now, it is the way of the Prophet ﷺ to invite them to his house. It is the way of the Prophet ﷺ to even go to their places and to their gathering places in Mecca, where they used to worship idols. He used to go to their places and call them to Islam. The intention is to call them to Islam. The intention is to show them what Islam is, not to be like them, be with them, and blend in, as they say. Lakum dinukum waliya deen. You have your religion and I'll have mine. There's no mixing here. There is separation. But at the same time, it is wrong of the Muslims to totally isolate themselves from their neighbors and from their colleagues, as it is also totally wrong to mix with them without any barriers and take them as close friends and allies more than the Muslims and be their confidant more than the Muslims. This is wrong. So you have to strike the right balance again.
That's the beauty of Islam. Everywhere, in every aspect, we find that balance there. Now, another thing that you've mentioned and that we spoke about actually was a lot, that it affects the youth, their westernization. And in our previous episode, we spoke about the WWE and WWF wrestlers that come to the Arab world, and you can see how excited the youth are, you can say, to be like these people. Such idolization, how can we counter such idolization so that they want to become, obviously education plays a big role in it, but there has to be other things that we need to do in order for them to want to be like the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, to be like the pious ulama, to be like the Islamic idols and Islamic role models. How can we establish this amongst the youth?
This is a very big question, and unfortunately it's way above my pay grade. See, the problem is that it is not a one-man show. This needs a collaboration of the whole society. And our problem is that we do not have a common mission and vision. Each institute or government entity works on its own. The answer of your question has to be the full collaboration and cooperation of the Muslim government, of the Muslim institutes, and of the Muslim families. Once you have this all together, then you have an identity. Our problem is with, first of all, who allows them in the country? What are the forces that are getting out of their way, paying so much huge funding and money to bring them, and what is their agenda? Definitely they have an agenda, and it's obvious when you look at the youth and how they are brainwashed. So would you like to eat your mom's local dish? No, I would love to eat the Big M, the Golden Ark, or whatever they call it. So the Western culture, the food, the way they look and talk, the t-shirts they're wearing, the lifestyle, all of this is coming to invade. And this is the purpose of westernization. The same idea of the colonizing powers, it is now refreshing and evolving. Long ago, a couple of hundred years ago, whenever they came to colonize a country, everybody stood in their faces and they fought till the death. They were freedom fighters defending their countries. The West has realized that this does not work this way. We have to shift the Muslims from real Muslims into puppets. So they started to colonize them mentally rather than physically. So you prepare them into loving your pop culture, loving your movies, loving your music, loving the way of life and the standards of living. Once they love you, then whenever you come and invade their country, they themselves will open the doors for you.
Right. And this is what I actually want to get into next, replacing traditional Islam with a westernized version of Islam. But before that, we're going to go for a short break, so stay tuned.
group of category is one of these 7 people who will be under the shade when there is no shade but Allah's shade on the Day of Judgment.
Scholars of Arabic language explain the meaning of the word haya. They said it's the fear of something that's shameful.
At the same time you try to solve your problems, then you will see the results. And the advantage is sticking to the sunnah. When you stick to the sunnah, that's when you see the advantage. But could you elaborate more? What do you mean, sticking to the sunnah?
They commit a lot of major sins, because the problem is that they try to convince you by saying Wallahi is the best, Wallahi it is the best, you won't find anything like it, So you're going from a sin to another sin, to a greater sin.
Man, it's been over 1 hour, I'm waiting for you.
Okay, bro, it's not a big deal.
At least you should have called.
Oh, not again. Don't get too serious.
وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما.
So let's get inspired, let's get motivated to worship Allah in the best way. Let's get motivated not only to worship Allah in the best way, but to race to do good deeds. Join us in this program, Islamic Motivation, by your brother, Rayyan Arab, exclusively on Huda TV.
Welcome back to Contemporary Islamic Issues on Huda TV. Now, before we took that short break, we were speaking about the westernization of Islamic thought and ideology and society. And we said when we get back, Sheikh, we were going to speak about replacing traditional Islam, or the traditional form and understanding of Islam, with a more westernized form and understanding of Islam, the religion itself. So before we actually get into this topic, let's speak about the different types of westernization, and then we'll get into this, inshallah.
Okay, there are many different types of westernization. Unfortunately, they creep in slowly till you may not notice it until it is becoming part of your life. So, for example, we have the religious type of westernization. And a lot of the Muslims, and I'm shocked to say this, and I'm sad to say it also, I was shocked when I went to some of the GCC countries in the Gulf, Arabian Gulf, and some of the Muslim countries all over the Muslim world, and you go there in the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, their holidays, not ours, and you find a big Christmas tree in the middle of the mall, in the middle of the hotel, and Santa Claus playing on the piano in the hallway of the hotel. Where am I, Akhi? Am I in a church? What is this? This is a Muslim country. All of around us are Muslims. But this type of religious westernization is firmly established in a lot of the Muslim countries. Unfortunately, when it's Halloween, you find people dressed in trick or treat. What is this? Akhi, we are in the middle of Arabia. You find them on the 14th of Feb celebrating Valentine, and people are wearing red and sending you postcards. Nobody sends me a postcard though.
I was just going to ask that, Sheikh, do you get many postcards?
Alhamdulillah, may Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us, Akhi. Again, we laugh about it, but it's sad. This is what's happening in the Muslim world. And they take this for granted. You know, celebrating the New Year is, wow, well, there's nothing wrong in that. You go to the political aspect and you find westernization firmly establishing its roots there. The majority of Muslim countries, abiding by the Quran and Sunnah, are adopting the democratic process. Democracy is against Islam. This goes without saying. Ya Sheikh, why? Islam has this and that, and they start to bring few evidences and cut and paste from here and there just to prove to you that democracy is part of Islam, elections, and it is not. And they say it's the rule of the majority. The majority are laymen, are sinners, are fornicators. We put this to the ballots. Okay, make your vote. Should we permit the selling of vodka in our grocery shops or not? 51 says okay, 49 says not okay. Khalas, approved. What does Islam have to do with this? So again, westernization in the political system. When you come to, for example, the linguistic aspects, you go into any Arab country, you'll find, for example, my name is Al Hakeem, and I have a shop that sells cars. I would call it, we'll call it Al Hakeem Motors. Motors? Why not the Arabic word for it? Cars. Why do I use the word motors as if it is? Or Al Hakeem Co. Or Al Hakeem Est establishment. All of these show you the amount of westernization found in our culture, in our countries. You find big signs of Western names, not Arabic names. You'll never go to America and find a brand that is Arabic. Nobody would buy it. So again, you fall into this kind of westernization. Westernization of the media. Nowadays, 20, 25, not more, 40 years ago, when it came to listening to music, which is haram, we had one famous female singer by the name of Kulthum. Egyptian. And everybody around the whole world who were not practicing used to listen to it. She used to repeat the same verse like gazillion times. And people say, oh, Allah, mashallah, and they're so happy. She wasn't beautiful. She wasn't anything, properly dressed, but this was the culture. Nowadays, when you open the TV, you see various types of video clips and different types of women dancing, chanting. It's all haram, of course, but it gives you a glimpse of the amount of westernization Muslims are having. Women in bedrooms with non-mahram in the same bed, inappropriately dressed. What are you doing to the society? You're showing them that this is okay. It's okay for your sister to do this. It's okay for your daughter to go out with a man and fall in love madly with and go to the beach and maybe get lucky or whatever. All of this is haram. But the media is the main driver behind westernization when they bring the culture in a beautiful way. And by the way, it's not only westernization. It's even from the East, from Japan, from Korea. You know these cartoons, the manga, I think they call it?
Magna.
Oh, the Magna, whatever. It's infiltrating the society. The kids love it. What are you watching? Nowadays, the deviant Arab channels who are known to serve the US interests and the European interests in changing the culture and the religion of the Muslims, they first introduced the Mexican soap operas, but in Arabic. So even if you don't understand, the culture itself is there in your own language. Then they introduced the Turkish soap operas, lots of nudity, lots of premarital relationship, lying, etc. And now they have the South Korean soap operas. What is this? Have you failed in producing your own filthy Arab soap operas? No, we can. But this is part of the plan, part of the strategy. Lose yourself, lose your entity and identity, and then we can manipulate you in any which way we want.
Okay, so I mean, after going through these various types of westernization, let's dive a little bit into replacing traditional form of religion itself. So not culture, not society. I mean, we spoke a lot about this. Let's speak about the religion itself, a more westernized or lenient way of the religion, Islam.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. See, again, this brings us back to the issue of moderation. Now, the westernization, when it comes to religion, it gives you an alternative to real hardcore Islam, if you want to call it. The thing that comes from Quran and from the Sunnah, and which people label us as part of discrediting us by saying fundamentalist. Yeah, we are fundamentalists. We go back to the fundamentals of Islam. Quran and Sunnah. It's not a man-made religion. This is from Allah Azza wa Jal. It's divine. So now we go to places like the US, and we find that there are speakers who have, under the social pressure, under the pressure of the media, have given in and surrendered. Some of them even raised the white flag of saying, okay, I'm not going to portray Islam as Islam. I'm going to try to forge and make something that would be called an American Islam. So mixing men and women, no problem. Some of the da'is even come with his guitar and says that music is halal. I love music. What is this? And he's a da'i, so-called da'i. One of the celebrities has no problem in being the special advisor to George W. Bush. And he's a da'i or a scholar or whatever you call him. And he's a well-known super Sufi. So this kind of westernization is deeply rooted and based in these people because of their distance and living away from Muslim societies, Muslim communities, real Muslim communities, and not being close to scholars who understand Quran and Sunnah. And this is one of the biggest problems, is when you have such people in such an environment where people look up to them and say, you're the best around. So they think that we have to like shoot from the hip. We have to improvise. We have to do something. I can't say I don't know. This is a big taboo. I know everything, man. Ask me, I'll answer you. There is where they fall and fall drastically. So this new trend of Islam, you find a Muslim woman wearing a hijab, covering only her hair, but her neck, her ears, her maybe part of her bosoms show, no problem. I've seen this in some Muslim countries. I've seen women wearing the hijab, but wearing tight blouses and skirts. And some of them wear trousers, skinny trousers, that is, whatever they call them. And they're walking in the middle of the street. What is this? Oh, she's a hijabi woman. What kind of hijab is this? She's just covering her hair because she's probably bald or has an afro, a big afro that she's hiding. Not that because of her hair is beautiful. This shows you that they think they're doing right thing. I've seen in countries like Malaysia and not Malaysia, but some in Malaysia and some in Indonesia. Muslim country with the largest Muslim population, over 250 million, and you find women performing wearing the hijab. In Indonesia, Idol or X Factor, or all of these programs again serve as a tool of westernization. What do the youth look at? X Factor, The Voice, so you can think you can dance, American Idol, and the list goes on. All of this is part of the invasion they are doing, and the Muslim population are so relaxed in their hibernating because of this.
All right, thank you very much, Sheikh Qasim. We're at the end of our program here. Once again, we've continued this topic, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to act upon what we preach here, inshallah. Dear viewers, I hope you guys benefited from today's program, and until next time, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa Wasallam was here today, watching all the brothers and sisters divided on the sunnah he gave.